One of the most thrilling parts about Fire Emblem, and what makes a story for a playthrough, is oftentimes determined by how good your RNG is, or alternatively, how bad your RNG is. You're fucking kidding me. You're actually kidding me, dude. Oh. RNG is what determines how your playthrough will go, creating some legendary moments like a unit dodging all these hits through a barrage of enemy attacks, or getting a perfect level up on a unit that isn't oftentimes used. And I wanted to test that luck by gathering some of the greatest FETubers together in one spot and forcing them into a Metronome tournament. The Metronome tournament came to me at a pretty spur-of-the-moment type of thing. I knew I couldn't do this alone, so I enlisted the help of my mod Lennople. Lennople, for those that are new to this channel, is one of my mods that has helped me through a ton of different projects, mostly art related, but on occasion will help me with scripts and research for certain video topics. With the help of Lennople, we created a theoretical schedule, did a ton of testing and balancing behind the scenes, seeing what was abusable and what wasn't, and then planning out dates and times. What was left was the hardest part, creating the roster, and then the not so hard part, getting my other two mods, Veko and Rugman, to help me out with more behind the scenes stuff. Before I go on about how I constructed the roster, there is one more thing that I do need to mention about this particular tournament. From the get-go, while my desire was to make a Metronome tournament, it was more important to me that we made good content, and we felt that making it in the form of an esports tournament parody was the correct call in order to achieve that vision. Both Lennople and I are fans of League of Legends esports scene, or at least were, and we based a lot of the visuals and ideas on how they constructed their show with our own little twists. With that in mind, I wanted to get people that were competing in this tournament to be people that I was relatively close with, or people that I wanted to get to know just a little bit better. Of course, people that have watched me on SpeedyHawk streams knows about the boys and how close I am with them. And of course, I brought along Speedy and Biz. While I would have loved to have linking, shoutouts Linking7, unfortunately time zones were kind of an issue. But at the very least, I was starting off with a good core of people. I then went and asked Nadgey, LunaFV, xxxtactacian, and Ginkgo, all people that I consider myself fairly close with within the FEtuber community, if they wanted to participate, and they all agreed to do so. And I rounded out the roster with who I personally believe are some really talented creators and people that I wanted to get just a little bit closer with, in both Kaius with a K and LevinSety. Once Lennople and I had gotten the roster, we decided to randomize the players in alphabetical order on a randomizer website, and the bracket ended up looking a little something like this. What was most exciting was seeing how well this roster played out and the little storylines that Lennople and I could make just from everyone's personal history with each other. The rules that the players had to follow were Metronome in one slot only, as the novelty of Metronome could wear off really quickly, and going into the struggle battle was probably better. Second, no Calyrex in all forms, since Calyrex is an incredible powerhouse. Same with Mewtwo, and Gengar? Because of Gengar's cursed body ability, it would just take away the one slot Metronome and invalidate the purpose of the tournament. Otherwise, any Pokemon that can learn Metronome, including pre-evolutions, were fine. With my roster set, their team set, and the dates set, and a lot more planning and meetings behind the scenes, delegating roles between my mods and myself, within the blink of an eye, the day of the tournament had come. I remember the night before the tournament being a little nervous. Up until now, there were no hiccups. We didn't really run into any issues, and even though there were some last minute stuff, it was never a bumpy ride as we had planned for even some of the last minute stuff. And spoiler alert for the rest of the video, there were no major issues, or minor, throughout the tournament. Everything went according to plan, and that's all thanks to how cooperative the players were in making it a well-oiled machine, and how diligent every one of my mods were during the entire live event. The first match of the day was Kaius vs SpeedyHawk. Kaius decided to bring an interesting team of 4 Blissies with the name Watch Akretsuko on Netflix, subtly hinting at the viewers that they should go watch Akretsuko on Netflix. SpeedyHawk, on the other hand, brought in a team where if he just rolls Sandstorm once, Sandvale Golem would thrive. While unfortunately Speedy didn't exactly get Sandstorm, Golem, luckily, is a physical powerhouse that was able to Metronome back-to-back into 2 different fighting type moves, finishing off Kaius' physically frail Blissies. Round 2 was Ginkgo vs LevinSety. Levin, similarly to Kaius, brought a team of the 4 same Pokemon, but instead of Blissies, decided to bring Clefables only. Ginkgo brought a more of a conventional team, with a relatively solid game plan of anchoring Jirachi, the bulkiest mon on his team, while swapping in Indeedee whenever he could for the psychic terrain. This particular match went on for a bit longer than I think both Lennople and I had hoped for, but it was one hell of an ending. And while it looked like Levin was in the lead and in the driver's seat, and it looked grim for Ginkgo when he was on his last Pokemon, Jirachi, who was also paralyzed, turned out that the paralysis was a blessing in disguise. Because of the limited uses of Metronome, getting paralyzed and not using Metronome meant that you wouldn't be going into struggle sooner. With RNG on Ginkgo's side, he clutched it out against Levin with a crazy comeback. Ginkgo really clutching it out at the very end there. The paralysis really coming in clutch. That was crazy.
That was absolutely insane. I don't think anyone expected that kind of outcome there.
Round 3 was Nadgey vs LunaFV. Both players who had brought some of the more conventional teams that I think Lennople and I had planned to see more of. Both players opted to bring in Ducksnore, who turned out to be a sleeper meta pick of this tournament. While I can't speak for Nadgey or Luna, I think they brought this mon because it's cool and has great coverage as a ghost type, not necessarily knowing that it would be this powerful. Again, I can't speak on their behalf, but that's personally what I think is the reason why they brought Ducksnore. Ducksnore's pressure ability meant that Metronome's usage would be cut in half, forcing these matches to go on much faster and making it so that whoever's Ducksnore is alive longer is at a big advantage. So honestly, this match went on a bit faster at the start, but Luna, like Ginkgo, had brought a Jirachi. And echoing what had happened in the previous match, Jirachi gets paralyzed, and Luna clutches it out against Nadgey. At this point, I think it was clear to both Lennople and I that some of the heavy hitters in this tournament are Jirachi and Ducksnore, but we were so wrong. Oh, so wrong. The final round showed the strength of Eviolite, as in the final round between xxxtactacian and Bismix, Bis decided to bring in the fattest wall, Dusclops. It was just so unfortunate that the bracket had randomized into this particular matchup, since there were very little 3 Kecleons and a Sable I could do against the wall that was Biss's Hey Guys. I loved X's team, and I was really rooting for it to work out since he took the randomizing one step further and gave each and every one of his Kecleons color change and protein. But alas, there were no match against Biss's fat defensive core of Dusclops and Snorlax. After determining our winners and losers bracket, the bracket looked a little something like this. And our first match after determining the bracket was Kaius vs LevinSety, the battle of whose one mon is better than the other. The difference between these pink monsters is that while Blissies might boast the most HP in the game, they are all physically frail. And while Clefable might not be able to match that amount of HP, have one of the best typings in the game in their fairy type. It was a battle to see who could outwall who, a common theme in this tournament. But unfortunately, Blissey's paper-thin defenses would prove to be their bane once again, where even moves like Rock Smash would take out half their health. And with a few lucky rolls onto physical moves, the Blisseys fell one by one in battle, knocking Kaius out of the tournament and allowing Levin's tournament run to stay alive. The next match was Nadgey and xxxtactacian, where Pressure Dusknoir would prove once again to be the best utility mon to bring to this tournament. But despite the big Dusknoir that was present on the board, X held up against Nadgey really well, up until this happened. Metronome into some of the heavy-hitting moves here.
Ooh, Sky Attack gonna come out from the Miltank, taking out Sableye too. Like you said, at this point, it's just Nadgey's got the chokehold, gonna close it in.
There really was a chance for a comeback here, but losing a perfectly healthy Mon to a bad roll is such a bad feeling. But at the end of the day, it is a Metronome tournament, and I think the players all came into this knowing that something like this could have happened. And unfortunately, because of it, X was out of the tournament, while Nadgey's losers bracket run was still alive. The first part of winners bracket was SpeedyHawk vs Ginkgo. Ginkgo actually had such a great team as a counter to Speedy's double rock core in the form of Poliwrath. As long as Ginkgo could roll into a sick, nasty water type move, or even a fighting type move, it looked to be a lot of damage to Speedy's core. I think Speedy understood this and started the match out with a Golem and Diancie and quickly prompted to take care of it by swapping out into Celebi quickly. And they were able to swiftly take care of the Poliwrath thanks to some nice grass type moves, randomizing. But before Poliwrath fell, he was able to force a switch out on Golem and deal a good chunk of HP damage onto both Mons present on the field. But thanks to Speedy's good control and RNG, he was able to maintain the HP lead up until the disable on Clefairy happening, locking it into struggle. And with Golem, who had been on the board previously, Speedy surrendered the match, claiming he didn't want Golem to be hurt. An honorable surrender, some might say. Ginkgo moves on through winners bracket, and Speedy is knocked down into losers. And in the next match of winners semis, it was Bis vs LunaFV. While I would love to give the play-by-play on this match, Bis just rolled into an early Imprison on his Dusclops, and then proceeded to roll in Smoke Luna as she had no moves that she could click throughout the rest of the match. It was just so unfortunate to see this. While Imprison wasn't an oversight, I think Lennople and I were really banking on it not happening in this tournament. Thankfully, Luna took it like a champ, and I'm thankful for her great sportsmanship at this time. The bracket looked a little something like this at this moment, and with a quick break over with our Analyst, which I let my mod team take full creative control over, I got to sit with the players as they molded over their bad RNG as the next set of links were being created. This was one of the few set of graphics that I didn't create. Veko was the one in charge of creating all of these, and the synergies that my mod team had, I think, really pulled this funny Analyst desk bit together really well. And they stalled for time as I got the next set of matches prepared.
Quite a low rate, probably not going to cheat. Luna literally has future vision, OP as fuck, high likelihood, right? Ginkgo, never cheat. Most loyal man in the competition, no bias, right? No bias.
As soon as the Analyst desk meme was done, we moved on into the match between LunaFV and LevinSety to see whose loser's bracket dream would still be alive. This match in particular was a showcase of how strong Dusknoir and its utility actually is, forcing Levin's Metronome usage to again be cut in half. And this is where I think we got to see Luna's team game plan really shine, by leading off with a Minum and Dusknoir lead as a kind of stall and fodder to see how many turns of pressure she could get in, really put Levin on the back foot. But despite all of this pressure, quite literally, Levin was able to counter back, even having the Pokemon lead at one point, until Togekiss rolled into substitute and was just able to stall out against Levin's team with a fat defensive Togekiss and Jirachi. And to add salt to the wound, Luna even rolled into Shell Side Arm, Galarian Slowbro's signature poison type move, to finish off Levin's Chad the Clefairy, thus ending Levin's run through the bracket, while Luna got to keep her dreams of the trophy alive. The second match of the losers bracket was SpeedyHawk vs Nadgey, and to be quite honest, it did not look good for Speedy in this match, as he lost his ace and faithful partner throughout the tournament, Golem, through some unlucky RNG at the start of the battle. But it's like the RNG gods had blessed Speedy, and he somehow rolled into Imprison, basically making it so that Speedy was guaranteed the win. Funny thing though is that Speedy also metronomed into Volt Switch, making Imprison end, but the damage was already done. Nadgey was on his final foot, and Speedy was able to somehow clutch out the win despite the terrible start. Nadgey's tournament run was over here, and Speedy got to continue on through the losers bracket. The winner's final was Ginkgo vs Bismix. Bis had a great opener against Ginkgo as he's able to quickly take out Ginkgo's Clefairy, making it a quick 4-3. with a Poliwrath who was also Magma Storm and burned, allowing for 2 easy kills by turn 3 thanks to Alakazam rolling into Parabolic Charge, dealing a good amount of damage to not only Poliwrath, but to Indeedee as well. This looked all but grim for Ginkgo, but we have to remember that Jirachi has proven time and time again throughout this tournament for its resilience. But unfortunately, its resilience could not save it against the utility that was Pressure, eventually falling in battle after stalling its little Jirachi heart out to struggle. Biz moves on into Grand Finals, while Ginkgo gets one more shot in Losers Final against the winner of Speedy and LunaFV. If I ever had to explain SpeedyHawk to someone who doesn't know SpeedyHawk, I think there are a few things that I would mention to that person. First, he's charismatic. He's able to captivate a lot of people with his content and streams. Second, he's a pretty down-to-earth guy. Third, his luck is absolutely bullshit, and he definitely did do some voodoo ritual sacrifice to obtain this level of ungodly luck. Because while it looks super grim for him, he rolled into Imprison again, and Luna had to sit through her second imprisonment, not being able to play at all. Speedy somehow manages to keep his dreams to the trophy alive, and then gets the run back against Ginkgo from earlier, while Luna, unfortunately, is imprisoned and out of the tournament. The bracket is looking to be a little thinner now, as SpeedyHawk faces off against Ginkgo in the Losers Final, and what an explosive start, literally. Because by turn 2, Celebi self-destructs at full health, putting Speedy on a quick back foot. But on the bright side, at least it deals a decent amount of damage to both Ginkgo's Poliwrath and Clefairy. And then in the same turn, Ginkgo rolls into Leaf Storm and finishes off Golem. It was not looking good for Speedy here in the revenge match. But remember how I said Speedy somehow manages to clutch it out with his good RNG when the odds are stacked against him? Well, Poliwrath rolls into Healing Wish, sacrificing himself, and Clefairy gets Magma Storm, and then gets hit by a goddamn sheer cold at a 30% accuracy, one-hit KO move, just landing in this Metronome tournament. And then you know what happens as the match went on? Perish Song, a move that ends every available Mon's life in 3 turns. And all 3 of those turns played out, but Speedy is ultimately named the victor of this match because of how slow Diancie was thanks to paralysis. Absolutely insane, and with that, Speedy knocks out Ginkgo, getting his revenge and coming to face off against Biz in Grand Finals. In the Grand Finals, a lot of things were looking great for Speedy, being able to knock out Biz's Alakazam, and then being able to turn Dusclops into a water type, allowing for every attack to at least chip the Dusclops since all the damage couldn't matter. And then by turn 9, Speedy was even able to knock out the Sableye. I mean, not Raichu. But Biz retaliates back by metronoming into Brine to knock out a half-health Golem, forcing out Speedy's half-health Diancie, and the Yawn to force out the Clefairy. But then in a crazy turn of events, Biz rolls into no retreat on his already tanky Dusclops. Then Flamethrower and Heat Crash to knock out the Celebi. And thanks to those series of events, it pushes Biz into a winning position once again. But again, because Dusclops had been out on the field for 16 turns already, it also meant that Dusclops was put into struggle, since Dusclops no longer had any moves to use. And just like that, Dusclops falls into battle, and a no-health Diancie also falls in battle, leaving it in a final 1v1 situation between Speedy's Clefairy and Biz's Snorlax Shmurda. Speedy needs to win this in order to reset the bracket, but it was just so unfortunate that Biz got the poison debuff onto the Clefairy, putting the little pink fairy on a timer, and Biz winning through a stall of time, crowning Biz as the champion of tonight's tournament.
Unfortunately, SpeedyHawk's climb from the losers bracket ended in a loss. He is, however, going to take second place, and our champion for tonight is Bismix! Woo!
In conclusion, this tournament was an absolute blast to host, and I think the participants had a lot of fun with it as well. Hopefully. And on top of that, the goal that we had to set out was hit. which was ending this tournament in about 2 hours to 2.5 hours, which was also hit. I can't thank the contestants enough for coming out and really helping my team and I out throughout the entire ordeal, as without them, providing the links in a timely manner could have delayed us at any moment. But you might be also wondering, hey Jay, don't you have a Twitch channel? Why did you host it on Lenople's? Well, I mentioned earlier that Lennople does a lot of work for me, oftentimes for free. But throughout the last year, he created his own VTuber model and even also started streaming content on his own, building his own community. I'm really proud of him for starting all of this, and since he was putting in half the work, I felt it was only fair that he gets to stream the content as long as I get to put the video up on mine. I'll link his channel down below as well, as I think Lennople makes some interesting content. I still don't really know what the fuck a soup stream is. And finally, I cannot stress enough how great my mod team was in helping organize this. Not just Lennople, but both Dorug and Veko were crucial parts of this team that allowed me to take a lot of the workload off when it came to the actual live aspect of the stream. While Dorug claims that he felt like he didn't do much, I'm going to assure you once again in this video that you did a great job and did everything that I asked you to do. Perfectly. No complaints from me. But regardless, for anyone that's stuck to watching this video for this long, thank you for watching. I'm really happy with how this tournament turned out, and if you want more content like this, why don't you leave me a like and subscribe? It really helps me out in the algorithm as I transition my content to more things like this. But again, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you guys next time. JaeAIK out.